If a place is nowhere, then why is there so much in the area where there is no where? Like, you would think if it was wheres, it would be in a place where you could play Halo 2 with the boys. But instead, it's a place that is nowhere with a lot of the boys. Keeps me up at night, boys. Keeps me up at night. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Ryan Reacts. Today, we are checking out a video called The 10 Most WTF Characters in Courage the Cowardly Dog from one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, Blameitonjorge. There's two things in this world I love, Blameitonjorge and Courage the Cowardly Dog, so I absolutely had to react to this video today. So if I'm going to take a whack at what monsters are going to be on here, if I have to get three guesses. One, we're going to do that claymation monster. I think it was claymation that was playing a violin like this, and then she turns around and goes, "Hey, you want some laka?" And Courage is like, "Whoa!" That's one. Two, I'm going to go with cats. I'm going to go with cats. Solely on the fact that he has an entire episode where he's like trying to put spiders on people's faces. That's pretty, I think that's WTF related. And then lastly, we're going with zombies. We're going with the zombie reference to that zombie guy who made a zombie movie and they tried to do zombie things. Oh shoot, I didn't go with the scary face. Oh well, I've already wasted my 3 attempts, and we're gonna see if I can nail it out of the ballpark. Of course, folks, like check out the original link, more for original content creator, link in the description.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah!
For 4 seasons on Cartoon Network,
Nothing gets me
Courage
more
the
excited than that
Cowardly Dog
intro.
either provided some
I was a
dark,
little
surreal
kid,
humor for savvy
fucking
kids,
sugar
or
high,
scared
watch
the
it.
hell out of children everywhere, depending upon whom you ask. And while the show is pretty hilarious, featuring outstanding writing and character design, its dark and horror elements provided plenty of clean, burning nightmare fuel for the more impressionable members of its audience. Despite
Does that
being a
car
total
just
coward,
have a
Courage
giant
always managed
cancer
to save the
driving it?
day, and usually keep his owners, Muriel and Eustace, in the dark about whatever horrifying danger has been averted. While some of the characters he
Yet
encountered were just
they buy
misunderstood,
photos
some
like
were
this.
actually pretty malicious, and nearly all of them were creepy as hell.
Oh my
So
god,
then,
how could I
here's one of
forget the
those
most
10 of
obvious?
what the fuck
Shit!
characters in Courage the
Of
Cowardly
course,
Dog.
the freaking Freaky Fred! Oh, I had it. I had number one.
The Magic Tree of Nowhere.
I forgot
Appearing
about
only in the
this.
season 1 episode of the same title, the Magic Tree of Nowhere grows from a seed that Courage plants in the backyard, much to the annoyance of Eustace, who can't seem to grow anything.
That's relatable.
Not even weeds. But that stupid dog can grow trees.
When it turns
okay,
out
bud,
that
I
the tree
understand.
can magically grant wishes, gifting Muriel with an oven and Courage with an actual bulldozer.
I like how Courage in the middle of nowhere, it's just like, you know what I want to do in this desert? Wanton destruction. Can I have a giant construction thing? Thank you. I would like to move this and hopefully find oil so I could get enough money to get my family out of a barren wasteland where we can barely find food, and if the car broke down, we literally would starve to death. They would literally starve to death if that car broke down. They probably already did. Or a tree showed up and they got a new car. You know what? They're pretty lucky people. They're very unlucky people, I gotta say.
Although the tree is a helpful but not
I hate his
figure,
DSLs.
its appearance when
His
speaking
double
to
DSLs.
kids
Oh,
attracted
God!
Courage. And 90% of kids watching this probably had the same reaction. It's a pretty weird mix of traditional animation, eyes that appear to be computer generated, and an actual live-action human mouth.
By the way,
tree's kind voice and wise
is the
words
mouth
do nothing
upside
but to
down,
offset
too?
Your brain's natural resistance to this bizarre combination of elements. It just looks wrong. Fortunately,
so
the
wrong
episode
it made
ends with
one of the
Steve
worst
chopped down
YouTube
and
channels of
Muriel's
all
giant
time.
misshapen head returned to normal size.
I never look at oranges in the eyes ever again. Bam! I got number 9, baby!
Another first season episode everyone wants to direct. Featured
This one
the
scared the
appearance of
shit out of me
Benton
as a kid.
Tarantella, who
Weirdly enough, it was
you
his
may be able to
nose.
guess.
Eustace's suspenders don't even work. His suspenders are floating over his pants, which means they've already lowered to the max amount that they can, and they're just dangling there, stiff as a board. He has some support down there in the booty region.
Even if he is an undead zombie serial killer who, along with his partner Errol von Volkheim, murdered 12 freaking people when they were still living. Standard kids cartoon
Remember,
stuff.
kids cartoon.
In that first appearance, Tarantella
think we literally
farms up
just
a
said the
large
exact
chunk
same
of
thing.
money to shoot his new film at the Bag Farmhouse. Of course, his actual intentions are to resurrect Von Volkheim, who was buried under the property, and then eat Muriel. When Courage discovers that the
Just a
film's
normal
script
party
is actually
day with the
tied to
boys?
undead resurrection ritual, he's able to avert disaster by changing the script. The two zombies end up buried under the farmhouse once again, with Eustace and Muriel typically unaware that they were moments away from becoming zombie chow.
Courage? Isn't this exciting?
Benton Tarantella had a pretty grotesque appearance, sure, but it's his backstory that earns him a spot on our list.
I agree with you on the backstory, but can we talk about the fact that this episode was they were going to have her husband record her grisly murder? Oh, that's some dark shit. I'm going to be honest. Kids show or not, I don't think I've seen many shows do a grislier concept than that right there. Luckily, these nincompoops can't go off the script because they were going to get sued.
Cartoon villain that seems to draw equal inspiration from Silence of the Lambs and Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, yeah,
We'd
for
love
sure.
to hear about it.
The Clutching Foot.
Oh my god, I forgot about this one.
Courage, the show, not the character, was also unafraid to brush up against Cronenberg-style body horror from time to time. And in an episode of the first season,
All I remember
The
is every
Clutching
time I
Foot
watch this episode, I want to
introduces a
throw
character
up.
of the
Oh.
same name, which astonishingly combines gross-out horror with Looney Tunes-style comedic antics.
Yeah, that's the show in a nutshell, isn't it?
Fungus. Don't worry, Eustace. I know some family remedies.
Starting as a fungus on Eustace's foot, the Clutching Foot is formed when the fungus takes over his whole body.
Ooh, I did forget about that.
Sentient, appearing as a giant fungus-encrusted left foot with heads for toes. The Big Toe, obviously the boss, speaks in a manner similar to a stereotypical mafioso from a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Exactly. That's why they
Courage
did
is
the humor.
finally able to vanquish
They
the
did that
fungus
100% on
by-
purpose.
Wait for it.
There's only one cure for that. Dog spit.
Furiously licking at it for several agonizing moments until it releases Eustace. The Clutching Foot made another appearance near the end of the series in the fourth season's episode 11, Ball of Revenge, which featured some of Courage's worst enemies teaming up.
How did the foot come back after that if it was just Eustace's foot? Is there another person that they consumed? Like the fungi went to someone else somehow in the middle of nowheres and took someone over's soul over? I'm gonna be honest, the idea of just like your foot being infected and then literally killing you, like the entity consuming you and becoming a new one, is pretty messed up. That being said, grisly murdering your wife and making you record it, still more WTF. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say, Foot, I agree with. That's a very WTF character, and I'm kind of mad at myself for not coming up with it. And there's no way Cats with just spiders is gonna come up, so I'm screwed. But that one's pretty bad. I remember that one literally grossing me out as a kid. It's literally all you have to do to add to that purple foot is the green funk. Ugh! Courage, you psychopath. I freaking love you. You came up with some of the most creative characters. There's moments where you look at something and you go, oh, that's drugs. Drugs made that happen. And then there's a foot that comes to life and kills somebody that is above drugs. It's just like, it's getting to another echelon now. Someone thought to themselves, I want to do an episode where his foot gets a fungus and the fungus comes to life and turns him over. And also, I want him to be a mob boss from the freaking Looney Tunes movie and have a Looney Tunes thing. The man's a genius.
Mattress.
Oh, yes!
Things
The
go
one where
wrong
they did
pretty
the
quickly in
Exorcist
fourth episode
parody.
of the series, The Demon in the Mattress. When Muriel buys a mattress over the phone from a person with a really
Also, I still
creepy
don't think
voice,
this is more
who apparently
WTF than
already
Grisly
knows their
Murders,
address. Yeah, that's a
very
bad
bad.
sign. And sure enough, we then see the new mattress being
I
delivered
just
by the
noticed that.
shadowy
I think that
minions from the
rat
depths
is a
of hell.
mattress.
And of course, only
a
Courage
cute
sees
mattress.
its horrifying demonic face. It only gets freakier from there, as we see a demon possess Muriel.
What
allowing
if
us to
this
see some
was The
full-on
Exorcist?
crazy
They just had to
exorcism
move
demonic
her ass
possession.
off that bed.
Her appearance turns demonic. Her head spins around and falls off. before speaking in a deep, male voice, which we're sure scared children everywhere.
I thought it was
Of
pretty
course,
metal, actually.
Eustace just thinks that the mattress is giving Muriel nightmares. But Courage manages to find a solution the way many of us would, by looking up how to
Forgot
get
about
rid of
the
a
thumb
demon
war.
on the internet. And he actually manages to exorcise Muriel in a pretty funny way.
Ha! Roll balloon, Rory, Rimbuck, Rory, Ruff, Rippity, Rick him in the wristband, Roo.
But the demon strikes back, possessing Eustace instead. Nothing a little whack on the head with a rolling pin can't fix. The episode ends with Muriel and Courage returning the mattress, with Eustace, still possessed, rolled up inside.
You know what's really great about Courage the Cowardly Dog? They are the perfect combination of kids and horror, because they do all the kind of tropes that make a horror movie great, but make it in a way that it is perfectly fit into a package. For instance, you have a horrific, scary scenario with like laying on a mattress and being possessed and losing it, and they make it comical as the you just saw Courage do a little dance to make them, and you laugh and you don't think about it till you think of the scenario and go, oh wow, that's pretty bad. Also, I disagree. The Foot's worse than this one. The other thing, in horror movies, you have a scenario where the villain wins at the end and it makes you scared. Like, oh God, it's still out there, so it makes you unnerved, right? But when you have a character like Eustace that's a piece of shit and you hate him, so when those horrible like scenarios come up and it happens to him, it's funny because it's Eustace and you hate him. And for some reason, he always comes out okay.
The fetus from Perfect.
Oh, the fetus!
Now,
Oh my
if we're
God!
making a list of
I'm mad at
things that you're
myself
least
for not
likely
coming
to
up with the
see in a
obvious.
children's television program, fetuses may very well be at the top of that list.
Come
We'll
on,
let
man.
you judge for yourself whether the
I invited
apparition
the
that
PT
appears
one
in
to my
Perfect,
bar mitzvah.
the final episode of the series, qualifies. In the episode, a ghostly school marm appears to Courage and attempts to train him to be perfect in every way, from speaking to
All I remember is
walking,
this episode being
even
actually really
sleeping.
depressing.
This, of course, gives Courage a high level of anxiety, which manifests itself in this nightmare sequence as he's trying to get a perfect night's sleep.
It's got lovely eyes, though.
We're not sure where this misshapen CGI creation came from, or why it features in Courage's nightmare, but it is now going to be featuring in our nightmares on a regular basis.
Nah, man.
Its solemn, creepy face and undeniable fetal features raises about 1 million questions we're not sure we really want answered. At any rate, Courage is finally able to accept his imperfections, resulting in the school marm melting like the Wicked Witch of the West, in a
Like she
sequence that
rightfully
is
deserved.
also pretty damn disturbing.
Is it? I'll be a No, it's not that bad. Sometimes the lady melts. Did he throw acid on her face? Kind of wish he did, but he didn't. It's fine. It's fine.
Violin Girl.
Boom! I got it,
In
boys.
the season 2 episode Courage in the Big Stinkin' City.
Of course, mine's number
Muriel
5, so that
wins
means
a
I love
sit-down
Freaky
playing
Fred's gonna be number
contest and is
1.
invited
Freaky
to
Fred's gonna be number
perform
1
at
for
Radio
sure.
City's music hall. Of course, they are met at the hotel by a giant creepy insect named Schwick. And their first clue that something is wrong should be the fact that Muriel's rehearsal space is outfitted with shackles and littered with human body parts. Schwick sends Courage to a creepy old apartment building in Rich.
This is one of my favorite episodes. The quote: briefs, boxers, briefs. I quote that to my friend. I will literally go up on the street. They'll just be walking. They'll just be minding their own business. And I'll just come out like, I'll wait behind something. Just go, boxers. And he'll scream briefs. And no one will know what we're talking about. And they'll think we're serial killers, which makes the joke funny.
Footage of King Ghidorah and a shark, respectively. But behind the third
Such a
door,
clever
a little
idea.
girl sits facing away from Courage, playing the violin, and Courage breathes a sigh of relief until she turns around.
Ooh! I hate that. Even seeing it now, it gives me a chills.
Well,
Everything
we
about it.
probably all
Ugh.
knew that was coming, but
Ugh.
that claymation-looking monstrosity probably traumatized hundreds of children.
Did me.
Even those who knew what to expect from the show. In a series full of moments like this, The brief appearance of the violin girl is widely considered to be among the scariest moments.
Yeah, it's
that it
just
had to
absolutely
offer.
terrifying. And is a love letter to Pee
Spirit
Wee's.
of the Harvest Moon.
That's the big head. That's the
The
one I was
first
trying to
season
think of.
episode, The House of Discontent.
Yeah,
begins
Pee Wee's
with Courage
Playhouse.
Eustace The episode's villain begins making itself known as a disembodied, supremely creepy voice, which grows louder and angrier
Voice
until
actor,
finally
just a single
manifesting as a
teardrop
floating
down.
white live-action head, the spirit of the Harvest
I guess
Moon,
not just
one
voice
of the
actor.
most terrifying villains in the entire
actor.
series. Continuing to speak
It
in a
is.
voice from your
The
worst
graininess,
nightmares,
the
spirit
real
commands
life
them
in
to
the
grow something before
cartoon.
midnight, or be forced to leave the farm.
Because you don't respect your land, you must leave.
Hey man, don't tell me that when you don't respect your facial features. Come on, man. Put a little cream on
At
there.
which point, objects begin to melt, thermometers explode, and it looks like Eustace and Muriel are done for. Well, it's a good thing that Courage thinks fast, using the sweat of Eustace to water the wilting flower and make it grow, satisfying the spirit.
But this is a problem. Frickin' fix the desert, you Dumbo.
King Ramses.
King Ramses! Oh, I was gonna say King Ramses! Ah, dang it!
As the Clutching Foot, making that season 1 episode one
It's
of the
funny
most
that this one's not
disturbing of the
WTF
show's
because I
entire
quote it
run.
all the time.
The segment opens with a pair of burglars
Ramses,
stashing a
the man
stone
of God,
tablet
the man of
stolen
God.
from the tomb of King Ramses, the Egyptian pharaoh. This immediately invokes the
We didn't
wrath
rickroll
of
each other.
Ramses'
We did
ghost,
this.
who sends swarms of locusts to eat them alive. Once the tablet is discovered and found to be
forgot
worth
about
$1
that.
million, Eustace decides to sell it, which predictably does not make Ramses happy.
Hey
The
man,
ghost brings 3
it's not
plagues,
his fault.
which Courage manages
Ramses just
to
mad because
defeat
he's
one
not
by
getting that
one.
$1 million.
Courage, did you leave the tub running?
But Eustace
Yes.
can't resist taunting the ghosts once all 3 plagues.
That's
have
what I
been
love
used
about
up.
Eustace.
Unfortunately,
You
for
gotta
him,
give a guy
this
credit
doesn't
when he
seem to
literally
matter,
is like,
as the
"Fuck
episode
you."
ends with a swarm of locusts returning to devour Eustace. One of many times during the show's run that either Eustace or Muriel, or in some cases
Why doesn't
both,
King Ramsay
appear
like
to have
museums?
died at the episode's end. An incredibly creepy villain with godlike powers and no mercy whatsoever, King Ramses helped to establish the tone for the
And
series
another one,
early,
that 3D
and is
animation.
still considered to be among the most truly frightening characters the show has ever produced.
Some of the best cartoons mix and match with all different kinds of animation styles, and Courage was ahead of its time when it did that. Who else?
Fred.
Fred's number 2? Who the
Another
heck's number
season
1?
Episode. Freaky Fred introduces Muriel and Eustace's nephew, who takes his occupation as a barber very, very seriously. In fact, Fred is obviously mentally ill and is completely obsessed with shaving anyone and everyone. But in this episode, especially Courage.
It's funny. They want to do an episode that felt like a serial killer. Like that serial killer tendency, that mentally unwell feeling that like he moves slowly, the music that makes him feel even more insane. But they couldn't just have him stab somebody, right? So they're like, God, we can't have them do that. What can we do to make it feel like unnerving for kids and adults? Shaving people. So now it's a kink thing, boys. And there's nothing worse than a crazed kinked maniac.
This may not sound like the creepiest character this series has ever had to offer.
He, as a
Take a good
package,
look
he
at him.
is.
His mannerisms by design invoke the image of a child predator.
Oh,
The
that
way he
too.
talks, moves,
Very well.
acts, and even stares brings up mental images of history's worst lunatics that ever drive an ice cream truck.
Well,
a popular
not
theory
really.
circulating the internet suggests that Fred is actually a pedophile.
George, I get that he's a cartoon character, right? And it doesn't really matter about a pedophile accusation. Where the hell would you get that from? There is no evidence that he's a pedophile because he likes courage, maybe bestiality, but that's not it. That ain't it, champ. That ain't it. He looks like it. He's got the Bible, man. He's not. They didn't make Freaky Fred a pedophile. Oh my gosh. Holy smokes. Oh. Listen, I'm going to stand up for Fred. I will not handle this. Listen, I know looking at me, I'm the last guy who wants to defend the Fred man, and I will defend you. You're not a pedophile. There is no information that would imply that he is a pedophile. None. He's freaking weird, all right? They gave him the creepy vibes of it, but not, there's no indication. It's creepy because he does things irrationally. He does things that, as humans, we go, that doesn't make sense. It's that kind of insanity that just freaks you out because you can't process why a human being would come to this conclusion. And because, he's doing stuff without your consent.
His manner of speaking, mostly in prose with a Vincent Price-like delivery, doesn't help either. Especially with his long, drawn-out, repeated use of the word naughty. After admitting to Courage that his compulsion to shave people resulted in him being admitted to the home for freaky barbers, he manages to shave Courage all the way down, except for his tail, before being carted back off to the funny farm in a straight jacket. The entire
easily
time,
the most
that
memorable
sinister,
character that I
creepy
didn't
grin
remember.
never leaves his face, leaving us to wonder just how many children grew into long-haired, unshaven adults after being subjected to this insanity.
You realize Courage isn't a child, right?
Clyde the Fog Spirit.
Who?
Finally, we have this looking thing that appeared in the 2014 computer animated special, The Fog of Courage.
What?
which
It's
only
something
aired
I've
on
never even
Southeast Asia
seen
Cartoon
before?
Network, and has never gotten a full airing here in the United States. In it, Courage finds an amulet that causes a fog to descend on the farm.
What?
A fog that contains a vengeful spirit that wants to return the amulet to the grave of its long-lost love. When it appears, the spirit, voiced by series creator John Dilworth,
Oh, that's
speaks
nice.
in a supremely spooky gibberish while engulfing the farm in a fog, and apparently eating Eustace's car. It's a great
Oh
character
no, it
moment,
comes
and
full
somehow
circle.
remains true to the series' slapstick spirit while giving us a monster that would feel right at home in an actual horror movie. The full Fog of Courage short can be found online, and in July 2016, a Facebook campaign was launched to convince Cartoon Network to bring the series back for a 5th season. And while there is no official news yet,
I wish they
we remain
did.
hopeful
Oh.
that Courage the Cowardly
Only
Dog
if the
might
original
return
creator
give us
gets
more
to do
belly
it.
laughs, while simultaneously scaring the shit out of us.
Oof. I'll give him credit. I did not see number 1 coming. But also, I kind of feel like number 1 is not the winner of WTF. But with these kind of lists, you always want to put number 1 as something that people wouldn't see coming. Because a lot of times people feel disappointed when you put something at number 1 that's like the most obvious thing that everyone saw coming. So I kind of feel like it's not really WTF, even though it is. I mean, I think it deserves to be on the list, but I don't think it's number 1, you know what I mean? Versus Freaky Fred. Or even, I still argue that the idea of the cannibals were so much worse. Seeing they were actual killers, murderers. And they were going to have Eustace record his wife being eaten and shredded alive. But that's just the saltiness of me that wanted to win my own game that I made up in my own head. I got 2 out of 3, though. Spider-Man was a weak one. I was growing a blank, and I didn't remember Freaky Fred. I can't believe I forgot Freaky Stinking Fred. But that's a really interesting one to find, and I'm absolutely going to watch that later. That actually sounds amazing. Should I do a reaction to it? Write in the comments if you think there should be a follow-up where I react to that short. Because I'm actually really curious about that. That sounds absolutely amazing. But this was another amazing video from Blameitonjorge. I like his blend of talking about the episodes, why it's scary, and like giving a little background on it. I do kind of wish that it was a little more like talk about the elements of what made them actually scary in WTF, which he kind of did with Freaky Fred, but I feel like there's a lot of elements, like you could talk about the monologues, the way the monologues were put together, the music, and all that stuff. But on the other hand, I wouldn't have thought to call him a pedophile. I'm never gonna let that down. I can't believe that. Was he shaving kids? Was he shaving kids? I don't remember. Uh-oh, George might come back with a vengeance, slamming down papers. That's right, Ryan. You forgot this one line that was like from 14 years ago when you rewatched it. Oh, shit. But this was a really good list. I don't think there's any that I can think of that weren't on the list that I think got chipped. I can't think of any honorable mentions. Wait a minute. I think there was a pig episode. I feel like there's a pig episode where like a pig was eating humans or something. I have a feeling that one is one of the ones I'm forgetting about. But other than that one, I can't really think of anything. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, remember to subscribe, leave a like down below, write a comment about the episode. What is, in your opinion, the most WTF episode of them all? Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.